Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is one of the most celebrated composers in history. His music has inspired generations, and his works continue to be admired worldwide. From his early days as a child prodigy to his untimely death at the age of 35, Mozart's life was marked by brilliance, struggle, and hardship. However, much of his life has been distorted and romanticized, particularly in the 1984 film Amadeus.
How good is he, Miss Mozart? He's remarkable.
While Amadeus brought Mozart's name to a wider audience, it also took many creative liberties. The film, though critically acclaimed, has often been criticized for misrepresenting key aspects of Mozart's life.
Is an unprincipled, spoiled, conceited brat.
I'm a vulgar man, but I assure you, my music is not.
This documentary will delve into the real Mozart, his life, his challenges, and how Amadeus shaped popular perceptions in ways that stray from historical fact. But who was Mozart? Mozart was born on January 27, 1756, in Salzburg, Austria, into a family with a strong musical tradition. His father, Leopold Mozart, was a renowned violinist and composer. From a very young age, Wolfgang exhibited extraordinary musical talent. By the age of 5, he was already composing music and playing both the violin and the keyboard. Leopold, recognizing his son's genius, took him and his sister Nannerl on tours across Europe, performing for royalty and aristocrats. Mozart's early years were full of travel, concerts, and public performances. However, despite his success, the Mozart family often struggled financially. Leopold's ambition for his children's success put a strain on the family, and their constant moving across Europe left them with little stability. By the time Mozart reached his 20s, he was a well-known figure in the music world. In 1781, he moved to Vienna, where he would compose some of his greatest works, including operas like The Magic Flute, Don Giovanni, and The Marriage of Figaro. Despite his fame, Mozart faced many difficulties, including financial instability and a complicated personal life. He was a freelance composer, dependent on commissions for his income, and his financial troubles were compounded by his extravagant lifestyle and inability to secure long-term patronage. Mozart married Constanze Weber in 1782, and the couple had 6 children, though only 2 survived infancy. His health began to decline in the late 1780s, and he died on December 5, 1791, at the age of 35. His death was sudden, and while the exact cause remains debated, many believe he died of kidney failure or an infection. Despite the hardships in his life, Mozart's legacy as one of the greatest composers of all time remains unmatched. His music transcends generations and continues to be celebrated across the world. Amadeus, directed by Milos Forman and written by Peter Shaffer, is a dramatized biographical film about the life of Mozart. The movie is loosely based on Shaffer's play of the same name, which takes significant creative liberties with historical events. The film centers around a fictional rivalry between Mozart and the court composer Antonio Salieri, who is depicted as being consumed with jealousy over Mozart's musical genius.
Is an unprincipled, spoiled, conceited brat.
He creates music for the gods.
He is passionate.
He burns with fire.
He is an angel.
While the film was praised for its performances, particularly by Tom Hulce as Mozart and F. Murray Abraham as Salieri, it was criticized for distorting historical facts. The character of Salieri is portrayed as a villainous figure, obsessed with the idea that God favored Mozart over him. This fictional rivalry, while compelling on screen, has little basis in reality. In truth, Salieri and Mozart had a professional relationship, and there is no evidence to suggest that Salieri ever harbored ill will toward Mozart. Despite these historical inaccuracies, Amadeus became one of the most successful and beloved films of the 1980s. It won 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director, and was praised for bringing classical music to the forefront of popular culture. However, the liberties taken with Mozart's life have created a lasting distortion in public perception. To understand how Amadeus misrepresented Mozart's life, it's essential to examine some key aspects of the film and compare them with the historical facts. The rivalry between Mozart and Salieri. One of the most prominent features of Amadeus is the portrayal of a bitter rivalry between Mozart and Antonio Salieri. In the film, Salieri is consumed by jealousy over Mozart's extraordinary talent, which he sees as a gift from God. Salieri is depicted as bitter and resentful, leading him to plot Mozart's downfall. The film suggests that Salieri even poisons Mozart in an act of vengeance. In reality, there is no evidence to support this claim. Mozart and Salieri did not have a personal rivalry in the way the film suggests. They were professional colleagues who respected each other's work. While it's true that Salieri was a successful composer in his own right, there is no indication that he felt envy toward Mozart in any significant way. The idea that Salieri poisoned Mozart is pure fiction, created to add drama and intrigue to the film. Mozart and Salieri did share some mutual acquaintances and performed together on occasion. In fact, Salieri even wrote an obituary for Mozart after his death, praising his musical genius. The film's depiction of Salieri as a villainous figure obsessed with Mozart's talent is a complete fabrication, designed to heighten the tension in the story. In Amadeus, Mozart is portrayed as an immature, childish, and crude individual. He is shown making jokes about bodily functions, acting irresponsibly, and behaving in a way that seems far removed from the serious and disciplined artist that his music would suggest. This portrayal of Mozart as a reckless, spoiled genius is one of the film's most significant departures from reality. While it's true that Mozart had a playful and sometimes irreverent sense of humor, he was also a deeply professional and dedicated composer. He worked tirelessly, often under great stress, to compose some of the greatest works in the classical music canon. Mozart was known to be a skilled performer, conductor, and teacher, and he took his craft seriously. The film exaggerates his immaturity for dramatic effect, giving the impression that he was constantly behaving like a child. Mozart's humor was often intellectual and sophisticated, and he had a penchant for composing music that was both technically brilliant and emotionally profound. While he could be playful, he was also a man who dedicated his life to music, and his works reflect a depth and maturity far beyond the portrayal in Amadeus. Another aspect of Amadeus that is heavily dramatized is Mozart's financial situation. In the film, Mozart is depicted as living in constant poverty, struggling to pay his bills despite his talent and fame. While it is true that Mozart faced financial difficulties throughout his life, the reality is more complex. Mozart's financial troubles were not due to a lack of success or talent. In fact, he was regularly commissioned to compose music, and his works were performed widely. However, Mozart's financial problems were largely the result of his extravagant lifestyle, poor money management, and his inability to secure long-term patronage. His decision to remain a freelance composer rather than accepting a court position meant that his income was often unpredictable. Despite this, Mozart was not living in destitution as Amadeus suggests. At times, Mozart did have periods of financial stability, especially when he had successful works or when he was able to get commissions. While he did struggle at times, especially during the last years of his life, the film's portrayal of him as constantly penniless is an oversimplification of a much more nuanced situation. The most dramatic and sensationalized aspect of Amadeus is its portrayal of Mozart's death. In the film, it is suggested that Mozart was poisoned by Salieri in an act of jealousy. This theory, though compelling in the context of the film, is not supported by historical evidence. Mozart's death on December 5, 1791, was sudden, and the cause has been the subject of much speculation. Most historians believe that Mozart died from an illness, possibly a streptococcal infection or kidney failure. His symptoms, including fever and swelling, were consistent with these conditions. While some have suggested that he may have been poisoned, there is no proof that Salieri or anyone else was involved in his death. The idea of a poisoning, especially at the hands of Salieri, is purely a fictional creation for the film. Mozart's funeral was modest and simple, with no grand ceremony or public mourning. His death, though tragic, was not the result of a conspiracy. The film's portrayal of a murder mystery surrounding his death adds unnecessary drama that distracts from the true story. While Amadeus was a huge success, its misrepresentation of Mozart's life has had lasting effects on how people view the composer. Many people who are introduced to Mozart through the film are left with a distorted understanding of his character and legacy. The film's portrayal of Mozart as a childish, reckless genius who was constantly beset by jealousy and financial troubles oversimplifies his complex personality and the realities of his life. Despite the film's inaccuracies, Amadeus has played a significant role in popularizing classical music and introducing Mozart's works to a new generation of listeners. However, it is important to separate the fiction of the film from the truth of Mozart's life. Mozart was a genius, but he was also a human being with strengths, flaws, and challenges. His life was not defined by jealousy, rivalry, or a tragic death. He was a dedicated composer who worked tirelessly to create some of the most enduring works in Western music. While Amadeus is an entertaining film, it does a disservice to Mozart's true legacy by distorting key aspects of his life. To truly appreciate Mozart, it is essential to look beyond the fictionalized portrayal in Amadeus and explore the real story of his life. His music, which transcends time and place, is a testament to his brilliance and his humanity. Through his work, Mozart continues to inspire and touch the hearts of listeners around the world.